Hello everybody, this is Amy Lionheart back with another commentary-based video, and in today's video we're going to be exploring Ivy in version 1.40. Now, aside from character balancing and adjustments, I wanted to mention that this update did address some battle system stuff. Now, there are three key things that they mentioned that they did with this update. Number one, they affect guard impacts. Now, in case you guys didn't know, or if you haven't noticed, in version 1.30, which was the last patch, GIs were pretty much detrimental. Even if you were to perform a successful GI, you were punished for it because your guard gauge was consumed at a certain percentage. That percentage was higher than it needed to be. So even if you, like I said, even if you made the right read or you had the reaction and you counteracted your opponent, you were punished for it. And when it came to fighting certain characters like Nightmare, Siegfried, any damage dealing, power heavy character, aggressive character, overly offensive character, it's not even just the big boys, it's like characters like Taki, Ivy, Sungmina, etc. Those characters had a huge advantage, and that's why the tier lists and where the characters were on those lists, they were higher, like Siegfried and Nightmare. There were other things too that they added when it came to character balancing too that made them up there, but I'm not going to get into that. Another thing they addressed was grapple brakes. They adjusted the delay times for breaking the grab. I'm sure this applied to command grabs, it applied to normal grabs, but I guess there was like certain instances where people were actually breaking something and it wouldn't register. Usually there's things that they address that I never thought would be addressed. Another thing they addressed was missed attacks and how they're handled. I guess when it came to multi-attack strings. So this third one is very important. So there's certain characters that have lethal hit where somebody has to whiff a specific attack. An example of this are Raphael's lethal hits and Ivy. I know those characters extremely well, so I'm using them as examples, but let's talk about Ivy since she's the focus of this video. Ivy's 4-4B lethal hit, this move only activated when someone whiffed the high. So now when it comes to certain strings in these attacks, I would say like AA, BBB, or something of that nature, you're able to activate the lethal hit if you successfully do it. It's kind of specific, but she will be getting that. A lot of characters have something similar to that. It's like a weird thing that's kind of new, but it's something that, you know, we'll grow accustomed to. So those three things are really important, but the GI is something that I really am glad they fixed, okay? Because that shit was annoying as fuck. Like, it was ridiculous. I was sick of fighting Nightmares and Siegfrieds that broke my guard, like, during the first round. It was ridiculous. So, I am going to use Ivy just for the sake of show and tell. Gonna pick right here my favorite design. Thanks to the Violet Soul, I really appreciate the formula for the dress. It's beautiful, and I can't stop using it. I honestly hate pink too. And another thing I wanted to mention is, in this update, they added 2 more color schemes for the character select screen. This is for normal characters. You cannot go into creation and use these as bases or palettes. You can only pick them from standard recolors. Ivies aren't that great, in my opinion. I kind of knew what they were going for, but it's not really my cup of tea, but we can use it as a practice dummy. Other characters, like Tira and Astaroth, have really amazing recolors that pretty much are like references to the older games, and it's so amazing. There's also, with this update, they also brought DLC for more creation parts, and they also brought back more music from the older games, like SOULCALIBUR 2 and 3, which were so iconic. I have Raised Thy Sword on the Strasbourg Castle just because it just gives me that nostalgic feeling of SOULCALIBUR 2. So yeah, we're going to get started with Ivy's changes. So in the patch notes, they always have a description for every character. I'm going to summarize the description that was described here by Ivy. 2 major things that they made change to. Number 1, she basically had this move while rising A. This move on counter hit was, I guess, underrated. You know, underrated. These moves, I don't even use them a lot, and I don't see a lot of people use them. I guess in certain situations, it's a good high crusher, maybe a good interrupter, but it's so fucking slow compared to other shit, you know? So the thing about this move is that you could never connect this into a combo. Now, having this gives very good wall carry and ring up carry. it honestly pushes them away. You could go for combos like 6BA, K into Serpent's Embrace 8, B plus K, which pushes them back. You could also go for optimal with Howling Spirits. Now, they gave us this combo, but they scaled the damage because it did more damage before. This was only character specific, so when it came to characters like Astaroth, Nightmare, Siegfried, etc., they were the only ones that this combo worked on. This, like I said, I don't use this move often. I've seen a few tweets of tech using this, but it's not anything that's like, we're gonna just do it in a match, you know? It has to be strategically weaved in. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's nice. I guess they wanted to make it consistent through all the characters. So this also works on Amy and Zhanghua and Talam. A second major important thing they've mentioned was that they adjusted the hitbox of Serpent's Embrace B. Now, this is very important to Ivy because you would think this is something that's good for her when it actually is somewhat a disadvantage for Ivy. I mean, it creates more consistency against other matchups, but it kind of was not too good for her. But I guess it's fair enough, right? So, Serpent's Embrace B, which is Howling Spirits, Just Frames, or Non. This move is a very good Oki setup tool, like a good Oki ender. So, when people would be knocked down in a combo with Ivy or in a setup or as an ender, this move was very good because the first hit of this string would jail like this. Now, they made it easier for opponents to horizontal roll out of it. Generally, as I've tested, you can basically ukemi right or roll to the right. I would suggest ukemiing if you're playing online because rolling is a little bit tricky. You have to be very specific with the timing and quick with it. I can definitely show an example of this first move whiffing. The reason why the first move is important is because the first move jails everything. It is a string that's guaranteed when the first hit hits you. So if I were to do this on Ivy, she can't block any of this. You know, she can't block the whole thing. So I wait for her to unblock. And we hit her with this. It's a very good mix-up tool too, because if they're crouching, if they get hit by it, have Ivy down real quick in here and see what we can do. So we'll have her supine. As you can see, the first part of that string whipped. So when we put her in this down position, you will see that she's going to always avoid this. First hit whiffs, even if it's the just frame. It doesn't matter. The first hit will whiff. This is just an example of when you do it as an ender or in a combo, they're going to be able to avoid it. Rolling is much better in my opinion, but it's definitely to your right side to Ivy's left. So you got to make sure you know the sides for sides. When you're on player 1 and player 2, everything inverts once you go to player 2. So it's with anything. And please ignore the attack counter. It's going to do more damage obviously because it's a counter hit, but it whiffs. So we got that out of the way. This helps balance everything. Certain characters could not get out of this easily like others. Characters like Astaroth and Nightmare, bigger characters, their hurt box are more susceptible to get hit by this, and if it's easier for them to get hit, they're stuck blocking this shit because nobody is going to stay on the ground when they're fighting Ivy. Fuck that. Those are the two things they wanted to touch upon with her. So she is going to be a little bit more mix-up reliant in this patch. In my opinion, her damage was scaled more. They want us to maneuver more with her and be a little bit more creative, I guess. Can't really rely on those annoying tactics anymore. One of the biggest changes well, additions is the grab out of Serpent's Embrace. So I can get Ivy out of this down position because she looks silly. Is Serpent's Embrace AG. This is very iconic to SOULCALIBUR 2. You can also do 4 AG instead of normal AG. This grab is breakable. I can have this recording so I can show this. And I broke it. And then we can definitely have Ivy do the back version. You have to react to it though. and then bam, you're able to break it. They obviously weren't going to make this command grab unbreakable if it leaves you at such a weird position, because look at this. Your back is turned. You can go for a grab mix-up, which in the notes it says specifically, this move does not deal a great amount of damage, but after it lands you can maneuver around your opponent to continue your offensive. This command was added to provide more offensive variations to use with Serpent's Embrace. The way that it leaves you, you could definitely go for a command grab. Unless, you know, it's somebody does not react. You could definitely just block everything, but once that command grab hits, you gotta duck it. So she has that mix up. And it's for both grabs too. I just feel like CS has a bigger hitbox, so it does that. You really wanna mix it up. A lot of people don't expect back throws to back break when it comes to this grab. It's a habit of me for just doing AG, but I have to learn to start doing back as well. But she pretty much becomes a command grappler at this point. Like, literally the definition of command grappler, like Astaroth and how he plays. You have to make it 50-50 in the grab break, which is awesome. We have a lot of options that this gives us. I've already explained on the inputs and how to break it. The best thing about this throw is that when it comes to one of Ivy's key wall combos, you can get it when the opponent is back turn. Now, getting this grab against a back turn opponent is guaranteed, but it isn't on Astaroth or Valdo because they can break back grabs. So an example of this is I can go into the reset position. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use it in a wall combo. One of Ivy's key wall combos, it leaves the opponent back turned on the second wall splat. This happens with their signature 6-6-BB wall combo. So you guys see me do this. And as I mentioned, this is a better alternative than Spiral Lust. 2-1-4B is not guaranteed all the time, but only depending if they stay on the ground or try to Kemi other directions. So pretty much we're changing the 4-4B plus K into Serpent's Embrace AG or 4G. It does not matter because if they're back turned, it is unbreakable. So we can try it here. Gotta move forward a little bit. It's a little tricky. And then you can go for a grab mix-up like this. Twitter has a lot of tech with the mix-up option she has out of it. That is why this grab is very, very, very good for her. She just has so many different like options you can do, and it's really nice seeing people show what they can do. Now, CS is a really good one because you're grabbing them when they're back turned. It depends on how they guard. If they try to hit any button or try to do anything to interrupt, it is futile because Ivy is +8 if I recall when she lands this command grab. So there's just a lot of different ways to land this at the wall. Now, if you somehow get a wall splat and you they're not back turned, you might want to go for 4AG or AG depending on what kind of breaks your opponent usually does. So you'll see that once you fight your opponent and know, okay, this person breaks back grabs, so I'm going to do the front throw version, or this person breaks front throw, so I'm going to do the back version. You can also do a reverse wall combo with Serpent's Embrace 8 B plus K. So we'll throw her over here. So you can do a reverse wall combo with this. Initially, when you land Serpent's Embrace 8 B plus K airborne on the opponent, you can go for the re-wall splat out of 6BA into Serpent's Embrace K hold. So I'll show you right here. This one's kind of tricky. Doing this combo in general is tricky because you have to micro step a certain way. Depending on the range, of course. I like to micro step. And then, you know, you can go for your mix-up. Another thing that you could also do is get a 3B lethal hit. So we can definitely have our opponents... We can definitely have our opponent move over here. So we'll test it here. And you'll be able to get a lethal hit out of this, which is pretty cool because if someone tries to hit a button or do anything after that animation, IV is +8, so they're not able to, you know, do what they need to do. So let's say you get this, right? And they get hit by it a few times. They will try and duck, so we can have IV here crouch. And this is the mix-up on it. It's pretty freaking awesome. They could also get hit normally, or if they just let go of guard, they could also get hit with this. It depends how you guess. Well, how your opponent guesses. But you will see that CS won't work when they're crouching like this. So that's another counteraction to it. So guys, please be wary on your mix-ups. Don't make it look super obvious. Try to condition your opponent to do something, and then you have your options out of it. This is very good for Ivy, and honestly, it really like ups her mix-up game out of Serpent's Embrace. Like I said in the patch notes, they said that her Serpent's Embrace transitions are so much faster now out of her cancels. So they're very much encouraging you to intertwine the stances in your gameplay. So I find this really awesome and different for Ivy, but it makes you really think and play strategic with it.
Show me your power!
Another change they have is while rising BB and during jump BBB. Oh my god. This move, okay. If you saw my ranked sessions, like this fucking camera would invert and then I would input something on 2P, but then it would switch me back to 1P side. I cannot show this now. I don't have any footage. I probably do, but I'm not gonna go all the way back and fucking show it because it's like I have to look for that shit. But this used to fuck with me. Like, it was a pain in the ass. I mean, it was easier to do the Venom Lash, but it's like, when it changes, you have to do, like, you know, you end up doing that shit because it would invert. It's so silly, and it's the same with jumping BB. I mean, I didn't experience it that much with jumping BB, but with while rising BB, fucking, like, all the time. I'm so not used to it. I'm not used to, like, the way that it looks now. I'm so used to the camera. But I guess they wanted to reduce instances where people were facing away and it's just a pain in the ass. So the next behavioral adjustment that they have here in this change is her Summon Suffering and her Calamity Symphony. They changed the move's effects. So for Summon Suffering, let's talk about that first. They made this... There was no flame. It is still an unblockable attack. Has the same properties. As said in the notes, no changes were made to attack's properties. So they made this like really sneaky. So it's definitely a buff, I feel, to Summon Suffering. Calamity Symphony, the same thing. It's just the aesthetics. When you get the just rooms of these moves, there's an aesthetic. I can show it right here. I am still in the process of perfecting these just frames. I'm just not as good at it as SOULCALIBUR V yet. So these are the aesthetics that they did for it. It's very nice. It really complements her. Blue and purple have always complemented Ivy in some way, or even just bluish purple. Next that we have is Reversal Edge hits K. Fix an issue in which an airborne opponent would behave differently than expected. So I guess with this, it was like a bug change. Apparently, when you would get IV's Reversal Edge K against somebody who does a jumping attack, example would be Selmina. I think with her B attack, if you hit with Reversal Edge K second win, you will get like a bounce and you can convert off of it in a combo with Ivy. I guess there was bugs with it, so they adjusted that. 4A, adjusted the hitbox in order to reduce instances in which the attack would miss when used in an inner combo. Oh, this move. Okay. I already tweeted about this. I tagged the producer because this is still not fixed 100%. This isn't consistent. They really wanted to make Ivy more consistent, but this is definitely not it. I will show you guys what I'm talking about. This connects, right? Ivy's a bigger hurt box, female hurt box. But see how it drops? It's not consistent. There's no timing to it. I'm essentially doing the same thing, and it drops. Only sometimes will it work. It's so strange. Like, you can't do anything after it. And this is very detrimental to the Soul Charge version because, honestly, you're losing an extension of it. So I can show you guys. Soul Charge. This is her optimal off of 9B plus K. It's like, come on. Not all the time. You know? Bigger hurt boxes are more susceptible. You'll get lucky. Like, I'm telling you, this should be dropping in Soul Charge too. I don't know what they fixed, but I guess normally without in a combo, see, it drops. So that is, I don't even fucking know. All the other moves that are here, 6AA, 6BB, 4A plus BB, while crouching B, while rising A, while rising A hold, during jump A, during jump B, during jump K, during Serpent's Embrace AA, while Soul Charge 6BB. So these moves, 6AA, 6BB, 4A plus BB, while crouching B, while rising A hold, during jump A, during jump B, during jump K, during Serpent's Embrace AA, and while Soul Charge 6BB. They enlarged the hitbox and tracking in order to reduce instances in which the attack would miss at close range. So they made these things, the hitbox is bigger just so it wouldn't whiff at close range. So that's not too bad. So example, let's say we were going for the command grab. This definitely, they will have to eat that. An example of her Soul Charge, really good game with that. Same thing with if you weren't in Soul Charge, doing this too. Making the hitboxes larger really helps them be more reliable, and that's good for Ari's game plan, especially with how mix-up oriented she has become now. Next we have is during Serpent's Embrace AA and during Serpent's Embrace while Soul Charge. They adjusted the distance between the character and the opponent when the first hit lands at long range in order to prevent the second hit from missing. So I guess the second hit of these moves are missing. So let me see here. I would say the longest range would be around here. Let's take a look, guys. A lot of range, holy shit. Well, let's do it without Soul Charge. This move would be hard to duck because it supposedly jails, but I guess now it's a little tougher. I can definitely have Ivy do it real quick so we can test this and see, because I haven't really tested this patch yet. Yeah, so guarding it is a little strange. Huh, that's interesting. So at the farthest range, if you think you're not going to get hit by it, you can always high crush this attack. It's a little tougher once it's at point blank range fighting her, especially during Serpent's Embrace. The normal 6AA, you can definitely duck this. It is definitely not, it does not jail like that, and you're able to avoid it. I can definitely have Ivy do this so I can show you guys. Don't rely on this move, Ivy's, please. It's not good. So I can play it right here. She can get punished. Severely punished. So, just a food for thought. Don't do that move a lot unless you're getting a run counter on somebody. Because on run counter, this thing is pretty legit. And it leaves them at a weird position, like back turn. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let's keep this the way it is here. Next change, 3366 or 99A. This is the move, 66A. Change the opponent's behavior when the attack is guarded. So, this move it used to leave the opponent back turned. Now, I don't understand why this could be a buff. because leaving the opponent back turn was actually pretty damn good because they would have to recover and then, you know, do whatever they need to do. But I guess, you know, it's more guard stun then? This move is better to be used at a very far range like this. Not super close. Because if somebody blocks it, you whiff second hit and you're open. Next thing, adjust the power of the attack in accordance to the distance at which it lands in order to prevent instances in which the lethal hit follow-up 9B plus K would miss. So I guess sometimes when you land this lethal hit, the 9B plus K wouldn't work. There was an instance, I guess, near the wall. Let's take a look here. The wall doesn't help either, you know, doing this because there's there. Whenever you guys are trapped near a wall or the edge of the ring, always go for 3 AG. You have that space to do so. I guess in certain instances, as the note said, you won't be able to get 9B plus K, but the hitbox of this at the tip of the freaking like whip is so big. It's so wide. But you'll be able to get this more consistently, 9B plus K into your usual combo. Next move is 1144 or 77B plus K. Increase the tracking during the time it takes to shift to Spiral Lust. This was to decrease instances in which during Spiral Lust B would miss as intended for follow-up attacks. So I guess this move, they made it a little better. It is a buff, increase the tracking during the time it takes to it. So considering that full crouch 3B Spiral Lust is kind of no more when it comes to wall combos like this, I guess it'll be more consistent. Way more damage than full crouch 3B, I can show you guys. So that's 119. Let's have her go near the wall just so we don't have to keep running over there. This is the full crouch 3B one from the previous patches. So we had 113. Yeah. And sometimes 4B8 wouldn't even work. So if you're at this range, apparently it was harder to get this, and they made it simpler, I assume. So you get that much, which is pretty good. Things have been simplified this patch for certain characters too, I will say. During Spiral Lust B, there was a nerf to this move, so they made it much more invulnerable. They adjusted the move so the hitbox that had been applied to them arm would disappear near the last half of the attack's duration. This change is to make it harder for opponents who dodge behind it or to the side of the character to score a counter hit since the attack's duration is long. So they made it easier for you to avoid it. It's still hard to do this with the AI because the AI is kind of like it's not like a real person. It's pretty frustrating. So they nerfed that move. So try not to rely on this too much. You will get punished. Okay. Another move that they did was 6BB, enlarge the lower hitbox of the first attack so it would more reliably hit as a follow-up against any character while rising A lands as a counter hit. So they pretty much made this easier to connect when you would get full crouch, while rising A. So, and then obviously for combo extension, you do the A version. And if you want to push them away for ring out or anything, just go for 8B plus K. Lengthen the input window of the second hit to allow for a slight delay. So they made this have a delay, which is pretty cool. Like that. So, see, the computer is, Lord, computer is just not the best training dummy ever. I mean, I can have them GI, but it is what it is. So, they buffed that. And then during Spiral Lust G, they sped up the timing at which you can shift to Serpent's Embrace by 4 frames. That's pretty sick. So they made it even faster. They did this cancel, like, last patch already. So this is faster. So I guess they want us to go into it more so we can get our command grab mix-up or our mid mix-up or our low mix-up. So that's pretty damn good. That's awesome. Or if they step 6A, which I like doing. It's pretty cool. If you don't get a counter hit from this and they start stepping, you can go for that. Once the first hit lands, you get the second hit for free. That's pretty good. While Rising K, so it was a buff and a nerf. They increased the move's base damage while Rising K. It used to do less. Does 18 damage, not bad. Increase the distance between the character and the opponent after the attack lands. Decrease the length of stun inflicted when the attack hits. They gave it more pushback, but they decreased the length of stun. So I guess this had a certain type of stun to it. You could probably go for a command grab with this, which I can try doing it if I don't fail. There you go. So you have room to do stuff like that, or just a 6BB, or a 2A, whatever you want to do depending on what your opponent does. Next is while rising A, they added scaling to the move's combo damage. So like I said, the while rising A combo that we saw like in the beginning of the video, it was scaled just because we won't have like a lot of freaking too much damage, I suppose. While soul charge, 3366 or 99KK, they added scaling to the move's combo damage for that. Oh boy. They scaled the damage on this bad boy. So do you guys remember how we can get the double, 2-bar CE combo here? Well, it doesn't do that much damage anymore. But it's still a lot of damage for 2 bars. When it came to 9B plus K, which I like using 66KK with it, having that drop would pretty much decrease our chances to getting the optimal combo. So I hope that gets fixed. So the resort that I have to that is just waiting and doing this. So it's 83. Did more damage before. I guess she did too much damage. I disagree, but it is what it is. They gave her other tools, so they just want to compensate for it. Which, these were nerfs, of course, the damage scaling. During Cerberus Embrace BBBB exact timing. Reduce the size of the first attack's hitbox. So, we already talked about this in the beginning of the notes. So, they basically, when they would be prone and they wake up to Ukemi to the right, it would happen. Obviously not in the way that it's set here in the settings, but like I said, it's there. I can have her downed and we can have her supine. And it's kind of tough because you have to do it so quickly. And with the just frames, it's kind of a weird timing, but you get the picture. So that's usually that's honestly what they did with that. I find it fair for the sake of consistency, for the sake of giving people another evasive tool. I suppose it's for the best, so I'm not going to complain about it. But overall, so that was the last thing. So the last two changes here were already established in the small description for Ivy, the summary that we have here. So overall, Ivy did get a lot more buffs than nerfs. She got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 buffs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nerfs. So I guess it outweighs the cons, if you will. I feel like she's still a very strong character. We just have to rely more on mixing up our opponent a little better now. Changes for Ivy weren't too bad. They scaled her combo damage. They gave her another tool out of Serpent's Embrace. They made her transition to Serpent's Embrace faster. So I guess they wanted to make her a little bit more mix-up heavy instead of just being a long-range zoner. They're really reeling her to the command grappler, kind of like Astaroth, but she has some maneuvering that you have to do with her. So there's not a lot of immediate gratification when it came to the Oki setups like what we had with Howling Spirits. I wanted to address about the IV combo video that it is very hard to try and make something and having your character change constantly every patch. It's frustrating for me to make something and then have to change it because of patches. Ivy literally changes every fucking patch and it's aggravating. As much as I love the support and the activity that they're giving with the game, competitively wise, gameplay wise, and all that, I just want her to stay the way she is for at least a longer time. They're coming out with patches every few months, so as long as I know that I have a good amount of time, I can actually put this video out for you guys. It's very difficult with a character that changes so much. So her game plan changes a little bit, but not too much. It's basically like how to go towards it is what changes. But tell me what you guys think about Ivy's changes. Did you like them? Did you dislike them? What do you think needed to be changed? What do you think didn't need to be changed? I, for one, want her 4A to be fixed. I don't like it to be character specific. It actually works on Astroth probably 100% of the time because I tested it. It's ridiculous and maybe Nightmare. I want this move to be more consistent. I'm tired of having it drop, you know, like off of B plus K. And the reason why I use it more in Soul Charge because it's the optimal combo. And it's like dropping. It's pretty freaking frustrating if you ask me. You have to like be ready. Need your questions answered or resources for Ivy when it comes to combos, frame data, punishment, matchup knowledge against other characters, you can definitely join the Ivy Discord. I'll have it right here in the video in the text here. It'll be in the description for you guys to join, and if you have any questions there, you can immediately tag me. My Discord tag on there is at UGS Amy Lionheart, and I can definitely try and answer your questions, or co-owner Ken Storia, our fellow admins, could try and help you guys. Our channels are organized with really good titles, with little emotes and all that stuff, so it's very easy to see. Don't forget to stop by the welcome tab of the Discord to read the introduction and the rules that we have. And this is it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.